Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, please hit that subscribe button on my channel. It means the world and keeps these stories coming. Now, let's get into it. The rain wove the river into shattered mirrors the day we laid my sister Lucy to rest. I clutched the creased funeral program, watching my father, Richard Carter, a man who'd spent decades burnishing our family name like a prized heirloom, step off the stone path and trudge toward the shadowed water. In his grip was a small wooden box, swathed in white fabric like a hidden truth. My mother, Diane, lingered behind, her eyes vacant, her mouth a tight slash no longer suited to a mother's face. Dad didn't glance my way. He placed the box by the water's edge and let the current claim it. I stood rooted. Then a breeze stirred, and from within the box came a faint, delicate sound impossible. I bolted. My shoes skidded in the muck. My breath caught sharp in my chest. "Please be empty," I murmured, hauling the box from the reeds with trembling hands. The lid was sealed tight. I jammed my car key under the edge and forced it open. When it gave, the world split apart with it. I'm Emily Carter. In our town of Ashford, folks used to say the Carters didn't shed tears. We issued proclamations. We signed checks. We threw galas for causes that wouldn't tarnish our polished image. My father built Carter and Finch, a logistics dynasty that made him the kind of man whose quiet words commanded entire rooms. He drilled 3 rules into me: guard the family, shield the name, and preserve the silence that protects them both. Lucy never fit those rules. She was warmth in a house of sharp edges and glass, with golden hair, eyes like soft watercolors, and paint-stained jeans no matter how many cleaners Mom suggested. When she brought home Ethan Miller, a mechanic with grease under his nails and a laugh that softened our rigid dining room, Dad's smile turned razor thin. Ambition, he probed over roast beef, voice measured. "Joy," Lucy replied. "I'm choosing joy." Later, in the kitchen, Dad said to me, as if Lucy were a ledger error, she means him. "Joy doesn't pay for roofs," he said. "It can," I whispered, "if you allow it." He didn't. He tightened the reins. Curfews, rules, concern cloaked as control. Mom hovered between them, smoothing napkins, swallowing words that never reached the air. The day Lucy confided she was pregnant, her hand shook so much I draped her in the blanket from my couch and brewed cocoa like we were kids again. "Ethan's hunting for another job," she said. "We'll make it work. The baby kicked yesterday," she added, smiling. I swear it felt like he said my name. I touched her belly, feeling something holy. But I knew, like you sense a storm brewing, this would shatter our family to its bones. It did. In hushed arguments, slammed doors, and Dad's calm, clinical voice listing options that drained the color from Lucy's face. She fled. Then the hospital called. Complications. Lucy was gone. The funeral script landed in my inbox 2 hours later. A press release with lilies. After the goodbye, Dad walked to the river with that box. I pried it open. Inside was a newborn, wrapped in white cotton, lips faintly blue, a soft whimper catching the air like a thread. A hospital bracelet circled his tiny ankle. Baby boy Miller. "Jesus," I gasped. "Lucy." The world narrowed. My hands moved before my mind could follow. I yanked off my scarf, wrapped him tighter, kicked the box aside. Hey," I whispered, pulling him to my chest. He was warm, but barely. His breath flickered, unsure whether to stay. My father's voice, now raw as scraped stone, said, "Give him to me." I spun, heart pounding. "You tossed him in the river." He blinked. "You don't understand." "Explain it," I shot back. He stared past me at the water, the current tugging reeds like anxious hands. The paperwork was messy. The timing. "Your sister's choices made this child." I snapped, a human. Mom's whisper sliced through. "Richard, please." He didn't budge. "We can fix this, Emily." "Fix." I held the baby tighter. "He's not a blemish." Sirens screamed in my veins. I ran to the car. Mom stepped aside, eyes averted. Dad stayed where the mud kissed his shoes, gaze cold as a balance sheet. I drove to St. Augustine's, the only ER that wouldn't pry first. The triage nurse, broad-shouldered and steely-eyed, took one look and barked, "Stat." She asked for the story. I gave her a smoothed-over version. Found him by the river, I said. Alone. She stared a beat too long, then nodded, already in motion. You saved him. I think he saved me, I said, and meant it. They took him, naming him Baby Carter, because I said it quickly, with a look that dared argument. I sat in a plastic chair between a vending machine and the unknown, trembling so hard coffee soaked my coat. When the doctor emerged, he said, early distress, mild hypothermia, but he's responding. A fighter. Of course, I whispered. He's Lucy's. I named him Lucas, not Luke, because it felt like a tether between Lucy and us. I signed foster papers with hands that had handled million-dollar deals, but never shook like this. At home, I learned the rhythm of bottles and 3 a.m. cries that mimic sirens. The first night, I slept on the floor by his bassinet, one hand inside, so his tiny fingers could grip mine. When they did, something in me rewired. On day 3, Dad's car pulled up like a judgment. He didn't knock. Men like him don't. I met him in the hall, Lucas warm against me. Enough, he said, voice low and lethal. You've had your gesture. Hand over the child, and I'll manage what needs managing. Like drowning him? My voice wasn't mine, it was iron bending. His jaw tightened. Discretion. To keep your sister's error from becoming a scandal that devours us. Lucy wasn't an error. He looked at Lucas, something flashing. Fear, regret, or nothing I cared to name. Emily, you'll regret this defiance. I regret not stopping you sooner. Diane, he said without turning, because Mom was there, pale and flinching. Tell her. Mom swallowed. Your father, he's afraid. So am I said, but not of the truth. Dad stepped closer. I stepped back. We danced that silent standoff until my door pressed against my spine. You can't keep him, he said. Watch me. Money, he said like it was air. You'll need it, lawyers, CPS, the press. I have friends, I lied. And backbone. He studied me, then said softly, you're making yourself an enemy of this family. I looked at Lucas, yawning, untouched by empires. No, I said. I'm making us a family. The door shut. The lock clicked. Dad stood still on the other side. Then his footsteps faded. It took a full minute to realize I was crying silently. You can love your family and still shield yourself from them. That became my truth. I called Ethan. Voicemail. The second call rang endlessly. When he answered, I heard breath and an empty room. Emily. Ethan, I said. Sit down. He didn't. He leaned against whatever hadn't been taken and listened as I poured the river into the phone. Silence stretched so long I thought we'd disconnected. Then a broken whisper, they killed my son. No, I said fast. I pulled him out. He's alive. Safe. Silence. Then a sound like a scream swallowed whole. Where? St. Augustine's. He's perfect. A chair scraped, a door slammed. I'm coming. He arrived 38 minutes later, breathless, eyes red. The nurse made him scrub in, then led him to the isolette. He pressed his palm to the plastic and broke, shoulders heaving. Lucas, he whispered. Hey, little man. He looked at me like I'd pulled a comet from the water. Why? He asked, one word carrying a trial. Because Lucy would never forgive me if I didn't, I said. And because I couldn't be her sister and let him go. We forge a plan in the tongue of those who can't afford to lose. Petition for emergency guardianship, document everything, copy hospital records, log calls, threats, gifts with hooks, apologies that rang hollow. We built a file thick enough to block a bullet, thin enough to slip under my mattress. Dad sent flowers that choked the room. Congratulations on your charity, the unsigned card read. Mom texted at 2:13 a.m. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I stared until the words blurred. At dawn, Lucas opened his eyes fully, Lucy's favorite blue. He blinked like he'd chosen this world on purpose. I slid my finger into his palm. He squeezed. Good morning, my tiny rebellion, I said, and felt the sun break through. The Carter courthouse looms like a stone warning at Willow Street's end. On the emergency hearing day, the steps gleamed wet, the sky heavy. Dad waited at the doors with a lawyer whose suit outpriced my car. Mom orbited no one, pale and distant. Ethan squeezed my hand. Whatever happens, we did right. Whatever happens, I echoed, and we entered. Family courtrooms are small by design. Judge Marion Decker wore authority like a scent. She read our file, tapping pages like a pulse, then looked up. Miss Carter, Mr. Miller, Mr. Carter. Dad's lawyer purred. Your Honor, the Carters are prepared to take full responsibility for this child's welfare. My client's daughter died, tragically, and in the immediate grief. Errors were made by distraught parties. Errors, Judge Decker echoed. Grief-driven, the lawyer side rehearsed. My client deeply regrets. Show me the regret, the judge said. Not the act. Where's the child's mother? Ethan's jaw shook, but he held it firm. She's gone, Your Honor. The judge's eyes softened, then cut sharp. I have a newborn, a grieving father of modest means, and a paternal aunt who's taken temporary care. I also have allegations of abandonment. Dad's lawyer rose to object. The judge raised a finger. Sit. I'm speaking. To me. Miss Carter, do you have proof of the child's endangerment? My statement, I said, voice steady because it had to be. And a video. Dad's head jerked. Video. I nodded. My dash cam activates near my parking spot. It caught my parents walking past with a box during the funeral procession. It doesn't show the river, but it shows the box leaving and my father's hands empty on return. Dad laughed, too sharp. A box could hold anything. Then why? I asked. Was there a hospital bracelet on the baby's ankle with Lucy's name and Ethan's? Silence hit like a gavel. The judge leaned in. Mr. Carter. Dad angled toward her, wearing his boardroom contrition. Your Honor, my daughter made choices that threatened this family. Her mother, and I thought we were placing the child in a safe haven. We panicked. We failed. But we can make it right now within the family with every resource. Safe haven, the judge said, voice icing. At a river. Dad's mouth opened, then shut, like he'd tripped on his own story. Stand, Judge Decker said. He did. The room held its breath. I'm not a woman you sell stories to, Mr. Carter. I count facts. A newborn was found in a box in a river. The child's aunt risked herself to save him. The biological father stepped forward. The grandparents' actions are under scrutiny. The child's best interest is my only concern. To Ethan, Mr. Miller, can you provide stability? I can, he said. I'm applying for a night shift at the plant. My aunt, a retired nurse, will help days. I'll take parenting classes. Anything. He's my son. And you, Miss Carter? I'll support them, I said. Financially, logistically, every way. We can be a family if the court permits. Judge Decker steepled her fingers. And the grandparents? I looked at Dad. He looked at me like I'd left our name to rust. Then Mom spoke, voice a whisper. Your Honor, we were wrong. She looked at me, Ethan, then the space where Lucy should have stood. We were so scared of losing face, we lost our daughter. I won't lose our grandson. Dad stared at her, stunned. Diane. No, she said, the softest word built into a barrier. The judge nodded. My ruling. The gavel shadow fell. Emergency legal and physical custody is granted jointly to Mr. Miller and Miss Emily Carter, pending review. Supervised visitation for the grandparents, contingent on court-mandated counseling. An investigator will visit all homes within 72 hours. Next hearing in 30 days. Dad's lawyer started 4 sentences, finished none. The gavel struck. Ethan covered his face, making a sound like relief finding its feet. I sat rigid, afraid I'd unravel if I moved. Dad didn't look at me as he left. Mom did, mouthing, thank you. I'm sorry. Outside, the sky split and rain fell bright and pure. We ran through it, laughing like fools, like survivors, like we'd chosen the right storm to face. 3 nights later, I returned to the river alone, needing to see where the world had turned. The current hummed as it had on the funeral day, as if it didn't hoard secrets, but ground them to dust. Dad was there. He didn't turn as I stood beside him. You were always the difficult one, he said, not cruelly. I should have known it'd be you. Someone had to be, I said. I just got there first. He exhaled, broken. I was raised by a man who thought reputation was divine. I gave everything to that altar. You think I don't hear Lucy's voice at night? See that box when my eyes close? I swallowed. Then why? Power is a hallway with locked doors, he said. Each step makes you the man who takes the next, until you're at a river with a box, and you don't know how to be anyone else. The wind lifted my hair. A car crossed the bridge. In the hospital lot, Ethan was likely feeding Lucas, counting breaths like treasures. You can step back, I said. You can always step back. Can I? He asked. When your childhood taught you stepping back is ruin. He looked at me, smaller now. You shamed me in that courtroom. I saved your grandson, I said. And maybe what's left of you. He laughed, a fractured sound. You won, Emily. No, I said. Lucas did. We stood longer, listening to the water rewrite itself. When I left, Dad stayed. The next morning, the counseling office called him 3 times. On the 4th, he picked up. We moved forward, steady and slow. Ethan took the night shift at the plant. I took mornings with Lucas, relearning life on 2-hour naps and the scent of baby shampoo. Mom came with groceries and apologies she couldn't voice. She learned to swaddle with the precision of someone recalibrating a star. On her second visit, she brought a canvas from Lucy's room, unfinished, radiant. He should grow up with her light, she said, voice trembling. Dad came once, hands empty. He stood in the doorway like a man asking a home for absolution. Lucas slept in his bassinet. Dad stared, then cleared his throat. I started a scholarship in Lucy's name for girls who love art and have fathers who can't stand it. He swallowed. If you'll allow it, I'd like one for boys whose names don't open doors. Ethan nodded, jaw tight. It's a start. Dad nodded back. I'll take the rest of the steps unprompted. He left a check on the counter. I didn't touch it for 2 days, then opened an account labeled River's Turn. I made him sign that the funds were irrevocable, public. He didn't fight it. Sundays, we took Lucas to the park. He slept through birdsong, squinted at the sky like it was a puzzle. Ethan told him tales of engines and vows. I told him of his mother, how she painted a sunrise on our bathroom mirror because the world needed more dawns. At night, in the quiet apartment, I wrote, not statements, not releases, but a letter to Lucy. We almost lost him. Almost lost ourselves. But I think wherever you are, you'd see we're learning to breathe. On the first clear spring day, we brought Lucas to the river. Ethan carried him. I carried flowers. Mom came, quiet, fragile, resolute. Dad arrived late, hands open. We stood where the reeds bend. I set the flowers on the water. They twirled, then drifted like something releasing. Hi, Lucy, I said, because some truths need voicing. He's everything. Ethan kissed Lucas's head. You'd be proud. Mom closed her eyes. Dad opened his, unflinching. He stepped closer, just enough, and said, soft enough the river couldn't steal it. I'm sorry, Lucy. Then to Lucas, I'll spend my life earning the chance to know you. Lucas stretched, his tiny fist opening. The wind shifted. A dog barked, joyful. We stood together, not flawless, not whole, but mending. Families aren't stone. They're flesh. They scar. They heal. I looked at the water, saw the box in my mind. Then I looked at my nephew, a boy who'd never be boxed again. As we left, the river kept flowing as it always does. But I swear it sounded like a song.